Welcome back, football fans, to another preview and predictions video. Bit of a hiatus, 2-week gap between the last video. I was in Japan, so this is the first one back, and I'm looking to make it a belter. We've got Premier League action. We'll start with the boring stuff, shall we? And then we'll move on to the trends pages, where we're going to look at over 2.5 goals, BTTS, and first half goals. Does that sound good? I'm making this up as I go along. When I do this, it means I want you to comment your predictions. So I might be talking about this Luton Everton game, which we're going to look at first. If I mention something and then go like that, add your comment, and every comment will be entered into a draw to win OddAlerts Pro. One comment per person, though. Oh, you can comment as much as you like, but one entry per person. There was somebody the other day going, "Oh, this was a great video. This was a great game. Did you see the game last night?" Come on, mate. You're just trying to game the system. It didn't work. He didn't win. And the winner will be announced in the next video. So I'm hoping for Monday. Thursday, Monday sort of schedule routine for these preview videos. With that said, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, if you notice me getting progressively sweatier as this video goes on, if you see something glistening on the end of my nose, which, I mean, it's wet right now, it's because it's 40 degrees where I am. And to do these videos, I can't have the AC on because you would hear the AC right now. So, compromises, hey. But I'm going to power through it. I have been praying for rain. Not here yet. Should be a thunderstorm in the next couple of days. Let's hope so. Luton, they'll be looking for some thunder in this game. I think this is last chance saloon, isn't it, for Luton? 18th against 15th Everton, 15th placed Everton, who are safe. 3 games left, including this one. Let's take a look at the data. So interestingly, there on the stats scroller, we see that 82% of home games for Luton have seen BTTS landing. And if we look at the goals, just in terms of failing to score, it is just 6% for Luton. So, I mean, many people have said it. Goals have not really been the issue. They are conceding too many. But I do think goals have dried up in the last sort of couple of months. Look at that. That is not the form you want going into the last few weeks of the season, where it's close, but, you know, you need to be winning games. And they beat Bournemouth, but it looks like a bit of an anomaly. That is relegation form. Sorry, Luton. I really, really wish that you do stay up. I would love it if you stay up, but where's the clean sheet coming from? I know Everton don't score many goals, but where is the clean sheet coming from? My prediction for this one, if we just look at Everton's form as well, 3 clean sheets in the last 3 games, 4 clean sheets in the last 5 games, and then a 6-0 at Chelsea. What is going on? But yeah, just 1 defeat since the start of April, and Sean Dyche, as he did last year, has turned it around at the right time. Everton just seem to get over the line, whether it's Dyche or Benitez, you know, they just survive. But no doubt about it, they'll be wanting to progress. I think they've got some more off-field issues with the takeover not potentially happening. So we'll see what happens there. It's a bit of a tricky game to call this because of the jeopardy, and Luton will absolutely be going for everything. Let's just take a look at the odds. So we've got 2.5 for Luton, peak of 2.69. Given how often Luton has scored at home, and given the form of Everton, you know, goal-scoring form, they're certainly scoring goals, conceding not so much. But I think given the jeopardy for Luton, I think they will score in this game. BTTS probability model has it at 57%. So if we add that as our prediction, we're going to get 1.75 points left, returning, back, whatever. So that is my prediction for that game, 1.75. Let me know what you think in the comments. And just quickly as well, we're going to take a look at the League One playoff. 6th placed Barnsley, who sacked their manager a couple of weeks ago because of the form going into the playoffs. They were lucky on the last day to get in there. I think they conceded late on 1-1, whereas Bolton have been pushing for 2nd and 3rd all season. Bolton are a really, really good team. Unfortunate to miss out, but, you know, they just got pipped to that 2nd spot. So we'll take a look at the quick form for this one. And it is always tricky with that team. In every playoff, there is always a team that is faltering, is like not capturing the form that they did in the middle of the season. I think last year in the playoffs it was Middlesbrough. In the Championship, Middlesbrough sort of the wheels came off a little bit towards the end of the season. It can happen, when teams know that they're in the playoff, they know that it's secured. It can happen. Looking at this game right now, the thing that stands out to me is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the last 7 games for Barnsley have ended with BTTS landing. This being a playoff game, first leg. You don't want to lose this game. And looking at their home form, they've actually only lost 3 games this year. 3 games since the end of September. So it's looking like a bit of a tighter game now, isn't it? When you look at that's why the manager got sacked, that form right there. Bolton, they don't lose many games at all. I could see this one being a draw, which I actually do feel would suit Bolton. I think if you asked Ian Everett right now, would you take a draw? Yeah, why not? I'm actually going to have that as my prediction at 3.9. As a bit of an outsider, with the predictions game on Odd Alerts, I do like to use it to sort of test these hunches sometimes, because you would never actually bet on a draw unless you've done some back testing on a system using the probability model or another filter that you've created or something. But the predictions game just lets you act on those little hunches, the gut feelings. I mentioned the heat before, and I'm just glancing over at my face in the monitor, and goddamn. So here is Saturday's Premier League games, and for this one, I'm just going to look over the games and ramble a little bit, and I'll do this when I want to ask you something, and as I said before, any comment on this video is automatically going to be entered into a draw to win OddAlerts Pro, and if you haven't already, hit subscribe, hit like, all the good stuff if you want to keep seeing me sat here sweating my balls off recording this video and talking about football. So Arsenal, Bournemouth, I'm really looking forward to this game. I think if there is one team in the league that can put a spanner in, throw a spanner in the works would be them beating City, right? I think the spanner would be City being beat. Arsenal are playing early, the pressure is on, they're at home, and I'll check the head-to-head, but I think Bournemouth was one of the games they stumbled in last year in that run-in. I might be wrong. Again, just going off my actual memory. So, yes, I think it was that home fixture. They had to score very, very late. Bournemouth scored from corners as well in that game. I think it was 2 corners. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a little bit of previous, just in that last away game, of Bournemouth causing some issues, but that was probably a Saliba-less Arsenal, which is a different proposition, and it was definitely a Declan Rice-less dish on that day. So I would expect Arsenal to get the job done here, but I do just want to dip into Bournemouth's form and their season in general, because I think they've been absolutely fantastic. I think they're going to go from strength to strength if they can keep their manager. He's proved, the start to the season they had was terrible, but if you look at who they actually played, West Ham, Liverpool, Spurs, Brentford, Chelsea, Brighton, Arsenal, Everton away on October, they just really didn't start well, but they weren't dealt the best hand as well. And then they went on an incredible run, and then it dropped, and now they're on a bit of a good run again. They are a really good side, and when Solanke's out, they miss him because they don't have anybody to sort of replace him. They've got players that are still finding their role in the team, players that might not have been coached to the extent that they are being coached right now, and I think it's paying off, and I think if they can back him in the summer, they don't have to go crazy, and they might get some money if they do sell someone like Solanke, but I think they can trust him for the next few years, and as I say, if they keep Iriola, I think the only way is up for Bournemouth, and they are 10th right now, which is absolutely fantastic. They were safe mathematically about 3 weeks ago, so superb job for him, but I do believe Arsenal will win this game, and let's just take a look at the odds, 1.36. So what I'm going to go with, Bournemouth making it difficult, so BTTS at 1.97. Now, we will just check the actual odds to see if it's a value bet. I don't think it will be. I think the bookies will fancy Bournemouth to get a goal more than the probability model, which is true. William Hill especially as low as 1.73. So, let me know what you think about that game. What do you think about Bournemouth's season? Answer me this. If you do want to answer one question, who will finish higher in the table next season? Bournemouth, Brighton, or Crystal Palace? I think that's a really interesting question. And incidentally, before we leave this game, when looking at the home form and the away form for Arsenal and Bournemouth, it is 94% in terms of 2 or more goals being scored. Brentford, Fulham, and a bit of a London derby. Not a bit of a London derby. They are both in London. I think Fulham is definitely West London. I'm not sure about Brentford. I think it was also West London. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. Ivan Toney hasn't scored in 8 games, I think it is now. Brentford, they're safe. Thomas Frank did an interview the other day where he was saying, basically the season's not gone as we'd planned. Even without Ivan Toney, it's been difficult. They've had injuries to key players. I think their keeper's been very good, though. Even though they've conceded a lot of goals, some of the saves he's made in key moments in games have been very good. He looks like a good purchase to replace Raya. This one, I'm going to go for a 1-1 result, although I could see it kind of getting out of hand. It's end of season game where both teams have not got much to play for, 16th and 13th, so we could see a few goals potentially. Burnley, Newcastle. We saw Luton at home, didn't we, on Friday? Let's take a look at Burnley because they are tough to beat at the moment, which is certainly true of Newcastle as well. Newcastle playing some great stuff at the minute, and you can see there, 1 defeat. The defeat was to Everton, wasn't it, for Burnley? 1 defeat since early March, and they are difficult to beat, but they're also finding it tough to get over the line in terms of getting those 3 points. At Man United, they could have really got a goal before they did. They just don't know what to do when they get to the penalty area. They just don't have any options, really. It's quite worrying. They've got a lot of runners, a lot of energy. They can keep the ball, they can move you around, but once they get to that penalty box, they really struggle for ideas. I think this run will continue, and that run is Burnley scoring at home. They're going to give everything in this game, and they'll fancy their chances, even though Newcastle are scoring quite a few goals at the minute. 4 against West Ham at the end of March, and then in April they put 4 past Spurs and 5 past Sheffield United. An off day, it seems, away at Palace, but Palace have been doing some great stuff. The manager there is, putting his stamp on it, and I'm sure Palace fans will be excited for the season that is to come next season. So this game, I'm going to go BTTS again. I do love myself a little bit of a BTTS, 1.79. So let's see what the odds are in reality. I think they will be around about the same. I've not checked. Much lower, much lower again. So it is negative value in terms of the probability model, but for the predictions game, I'm liking that 1.79 return. And let me know what you think in the comments. Will Alexander Isak score again? Here's a good question. I put this on Twitter the other day, but Twitter is just restricting everything that I post. For some reason, everything goes nowhere. We've got about 24,000 followers on there. And I think sometimes the posts are seen by about 500 people. But regardless, I don't know. Since Elon Musk took over, Muskie, sort it out. Who would score more goals in a Man City team? Haaland or Isak? If you put Isak in that Man City team, who would get more goals? Not who would get more goals, but would he get more goals and assists than Haaland? I think he would. He would be unbelievable in that Man City team. He's who they should have got when they sold Jesus. I'm not sure on the timeline of that. Maybe Isak was already at Newcastle. I think they did fantastic work there, Newcastle, to get Isak in January when they did. Superb signing. Sheffield United are down. They're playing Forest. And interesting, isn't it? These kind of games when there's nothing to play for now for Sheffield United. Will they suddenly find a performance from somewhere? I think Burnley will be hoping so. And Luton, depending on their result, will be also crossing their fingers, but from what I've seen of Sheffield United, just wipe a bit of sweat off my top lip there, it is roasting. What I've seen of Sheffield United recently, they're gone. They're just terrible. I don't even know if Wilder will stay because these defensive performances are just shocking, and he comes out and says they're not fit enough. That's your job. I know it's hard to get a team up to a certain standard mid-season, but that's your job. If they're getting tired during the game, then maybe you're working them too hard. I don't know. You're the manager. Sheffield United have conceded in 94% of home games. So my prediction for that is that Forest get the job done there. Maybe even 2-0 or something. I just think Sheffield United, from what I've seen, they're just gone. And it's not as if the fans are going to be up for it. Some of them might not even decide to go to the game. I know it's brutal, but it might be true. City, Wolves, I think Man City will win that game comfortably. I just don't see him dropping any points. So, on to Sunday. So if Man City win on Saturday, it puts a bit of pressure on Liverpool, who play Tottenham. We will start there. Tottenham, I don't know what's going wrong with Tottenham. I think they had some good spells in that Arsenal game. It was a bit of a weird game, wasn't it? Because Romero's header and a missed chance for Son in the first half, and it's a completely different game, to be honest. Tottenham have now lost 2 games in a row. They've conceded in the last 6 games played. Against Luton, Fulham, West Ham, Forest, and then fair play, Newcastle and Arsenal. But the defence hasn't been great this season, and away from home, not many clean sheets there. 2 clean sheets since early October. But for Liverpool, Klopp's fairy tale ending is turning into a bit of a nightmare, isn't it? 1 victory in the last 5 games, and look at those teams that they've played. I mean, no disrespect, but in Premier League terms, when Liverpool are chasing the title, and you're playing West Ham, you're playing Everton, you're playing Fulham, you're playing Palace, you're playing United at Old Trafford. Burnley got a point there last weekend. I just think they've capitulated at the wrong time. Defensively, they've always been a bit shaky this season. If you look earlier in the season, if you scored a few goals, you could score a couple, but you'd need to score 2 or 3 against this team to beat them, because they were always going to score, especially at home. They've lost once at home, and it was that last game against Palace. Really, really tricky to predict how they bounce back from this. I think there's potential for them to come out in this game. It's not Klopp's final home game, is it? That one will be charged for sure. I think the odds would be very, very low for that game, whenever that is and whoever it is against. But for this game, 1.44. Bloody hell. I mean, sweat again, Jesus. There's probably value in Spurs or BTTS, although I imagine BTTS is going to be 1.67 is good for me, given how these two teams have been playing, but more importantly, how they've been defending in recent times. I saw a stat the other day about Joe Gomez. When he's played this year, they've conceded 0.8 goals per game, and when he hasn't played, it goes way up. And I think Trent coming back into the team, you're obviously going to gain something with Trent coming back into the team, but they've lost something as well defensively, and I think people latch onto that when he's not playing. Gomez did a great job when Robertson was out as well at left back. Here's a question for you: will Joe Gomez go to the Euros with England? And let me just get that bit there. So BTTS 1.36, as low as 1.36, not worth it in reality for me unless you want to put a bet builder together. And Chelsea, West Ham, and Brighton, Aston Villa. Brighton, dearie me. I'm going to go with straight up an away win for Aston Villa here, and I'll show you why. Because for Brighton, recently, look at that. I mean, they're not even in Europe anymore. They had an excuse previously around here where it was like, yeah, we're in Europe, guys. Come on, we're getting used to the travelling. The squad's thin. But at the moment, no goals scored in 4 of the last 5. It is actually 0-0 against Brentford, 3-0 defeat against Arsenal. They scored a goal against Burnley. Well done. But then fired blanks against City and Bournemouth. And Bournemouth in that game, just showing that the Premier League is competitive outside of those top 2. Teams like Bournemouth can come up, can be ambitious in terms of the appointment of the manager, certainly. Although, O'Neill's doing all right as well, having been sacked by Bournemouth. This one, as I say, I think Villa will get the job done and secure that 4th spot, or make it their own. I think they'll see this through, Villa. And in Unai Emery, they've got a fantastic manager. We'll just take a look at the last 10 games as well, because I don't believe Aston Villa are in terrible form at all. 50% in terms of games won. They've lost just 2 out of the last 10. Look at the goal difference, though. -8 for Brighton, 2 for Aston Villa. In terms of goals scored, they've just scored 9 goals, Brighton, compared to 21 for Aston Villa. So, yeah, quite confident with that, going with a Villa victory. That was correct, wasn't it? So, Chelsea, West Ham as well. We'll do one here. This is 9th against 8th. That's quite unbelievable for both of the teams, really. I mean, when you watch West Ham and you think, they're 8th, really? And if you look at their form as well, They've won once since early March, and they haven't really moved much. So it's a bit of a strange one. Away from home, they've won a couple of games this year. That was at Everton and at Wolves, but they have been scoring. They've scored 3-3, 2 and 2 in the last 4 away games. They were pretty good at Newcastle, actually, in that first half. The thing is, as soon as they tire West Ham, I don't think they've got the backups on the bench. I think that's a little bit why Ward-Prowse has been on the bench, to come on and bring them something different in the second half. But he might start this game. I've got a feeling he will. For Chelsea, they're not losing many games, to be fair, but they are still conceding. They conceded 2 at Villa, and that was a good result in terms of what came before that, 5-0 away at Arsenal. And if you look at that on paper, you'd say they're not doing that bad. But when you watch them and the defensive structure and the messiness of them, the rashness, the clumsiness of Chelsea, I think they're always susceptible to conceding goals, and I think they will in this one. I know I'm a little bit boring just going for BTTS, but I might go for goals in this one, actually. Over 2.5 goals, 1.45, BTTS 1.62. That's why I go for it, because you need one less goal in terms of the total goals. Over 2.5 goals, 1.45, but for one less goal, has to be on the right side, of course, you get better odds. And they are my predictions, and I'm going to leave it there because I'm not joking. I am sweating. I need a drink of water. If you want trends, go to the Trends Digest. I'll link it in the description. It is a Telegram channel. It's free. You can join it, and I post upcoming trends. I'll post like lists of the top home teams and stuff. You can join in there. It's a Telegram group. There's about 2,500 people. Comment who you think will win out of Liverpool and Spurs and what you think the score will be, and just give us your predictions and we'll comment together, and you'll be entered into a draw to win OddAlerts Pro. I hope this has been an okay video. I just wanted to get one out because I haven't for a couple of weeks because I've been in Japan, and when I got back from Japan I've had migraines. They're still not gone, to be honest, but I'm feeling able at least to do a video. So hopefully this was okay. Let me know what you think. Leave a like, leave a subscription. See you in the next one. Wow, 41 degrees tomorrow. Whew.